There is a big congress taking place.
It took place. It was just for a day.
A day.
So this morning, I noticed that you read a story. The Minister of Sports was quoted
It's not about patriotism.
having said that footballers, particularly of the national teams, should focus on patriotism
And not money.
Now, I sense that you felt he was not being fair to the footballers in zeroing in on them, which is why you read the story and left it the way you did.
You know me too well.
So I want to pull you out.
You know me too well, Bernard. It's not
I want to pull you out to explain why you felt like he may be saying something that is generally true, but choosing the forum that he chose to zero in on footballers and their loyalty was not fair, and also sort of paints the wrong picture about his overall appreciation of the biggest problems in football.
I said, I think you have nailed it right on the head. His appreciation of the biggest issues that should have been discussed at the Congress in presenting his speech. I can't tell him what to say, but my expectation, and I'm sure it would be a reasonable expectation, it is a reasonable expectation, is that when a sector minister shows up and the sport that you supervise, and it is your most popular sport, economically is also your most viable sport, also a significant employer, and it is in the state that it is in, and you show up at what basically is the AGM of that sport, you don't read a lightweight solidarity message.
You should give them a charge.
Give them a charge and ask questions. This is what we saw. Unless he read a message which buttresses the point I've always made about the government not seeing itself as a partner in football unless they have to pay money to the Black Stars. Now, in paying money to the Black Stars, that the government negotiates. When the players now hold you to it, you show up at the Congress to come and complain that why players should be more patriotic. Who promised them the money? It's the same government. So if you promise and you don't pay, and the players agitate, why are you complaining?
As if only the players who are looking for money.
Now, you pay all kinds of people some of these monies too, including people who are not supposed to be paid.
Yeah.
We saw this from the World Cup. So if he were that worried about patriotism, when, for instance, a budget was put in front of him, that when we pay the Black Stars an appearance fee, pay $500,000 to the 5 people who supposedly look after the national team, did he, the sports minister, look at that line item and say, this is not patriotic? It doesn't make sense. Why am I paying $500,000 to 5 people who basically do nothing? $100,000 a day as a thank you for 2 weeks of your time. Which bank CEO even gets that in this country?
Which people was giving that money?
The executive, the Black Stars Management Committee. They were paid $100,000 each
for the work they did.
For the work they did.
At the...
You understand? So all I'm saying is, a sector minister who understands these things would have raised those questions and not focus on players must be more patriotic.
Was that all he said?
He spoke about infrastructure. He spoke about the stadium. He said the Sipon, they have spoken to the contractor at the Sipon, Yatiabre. The last thing, in fact, the finance minister said it was 90% complete 3 years ago. As to what is happening there, we don't know. Spoke about, but the point is, the last time Accra Sofo played a game, Bernard, there were 750 people at the stadium. You are talking about the fact that, the park has been renovated. Who is watching the football in the park? You understand?
So you think there are deeper issues he could have chosen to highlight than to basically coddle to the FA?
Which is why I am worried, because you see, somebody will say, why are you addressing the minister and not the Football Association? Because the way it works, it is only when the sports ministry or the government decides to wake up to its responsibilities, not just to the national team, but to the overall growth of football in this country, there will be no proper changes. You see, because...
let me ask you a question.
I'm coming, if you allow me. I'll let you ask me a question. Has the sports minister ever sat in a room with football club owners? That would be Galka. And said, Galka, outside of the football, what do you need? You understand? What do you need? What are the difficulties you face? How can I help you? The only time there's a conversation for him to have is when the national team has to travel. And during his speech, he said, you heard what he said, the government pays player tickets, the government pays per diems, we feed the players. Who should feed the Black Stars? Me? But the problem is, that is not what you should be discussing at the Congress of Football.
So what should he be doing? What should he be saying to the FA at this Congress?
What he should have been asking them was, why is it that we just ended the year where fan engagement at this time is at an all-time low? Nobody is interested in football. Nobody is.
From Kopak.
No. What would have been interesting to hear?
You mean Ghanaian football?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because people
The
are
context in which I'm speaking is quite clear.
So people should have gone to like we have big games. There's a league that just ended.
Is
not going to park.
Those are the things that should be, because this is like the agric minister or the finance minister sitting back and with bankers not going to work or something, or people not depositing money in banks, and the finance minister is sitting in his office and he's happy. He will call the bankers association immediately and say, hey, what's going on?
Why come we are not raising deposits?
How come we are not raising deposits? Those are the kind of questions you should be asking, but he sits aloof. And because football people, as they call themselves, like to be in their own space, his aloofness works for them because they don't have to work too hard then.
But let me ask you, if you look at recent history of sports ministers and the challenges they've had trying to take on the FA, every sports minister who has tried to do that
has been only
Nilante, from Kufos Malam Isa.
Bernard,
You know, there's so many. Even Ayariga was one of the few who was able to sort of.
Nilante as well.
Nilante and
Pelpo
Ayariga.
also what?
Yeah, but the point is that it's not. It's a very no. Even Pelpo, you won't say took on the FA. What they do is that they manage
The relationship.
the FA because they also don't want to, because this is a thing about politics. You don't want your sports minister to wake up thinking that somebody is choking him to the president that he can't work with the FA. And you see, because the minister of sports is appointed and the FA president is elected.
Who elects him?
I'm coming. If you are the minister of sports, and in Ghana, our politics is very crazy. One of the things a sports minister wants to do is that he wants to have cordial relations with the FA. He doesn't want to wake up and hear that they are telling the president that every day
Who said
Minister of
that?
Sports is fighting.
Bernard, who said
the
that
FA.
standard?
No,
Not fighting. Not fighting.
I'm telling you that if you look at
Who said that standard?
the reason Nilante was able to take on the FA was that he's a proper football person, and he knows football at the level that most. Even when he goes to an FA meeting, he's a football man.
Which is why he was a
Not
breath
very
of
many of
fresh
them.
air.
Not very many of them. If you make Sky a sports minister, he will say, "Hey, later, Godfred, what's going on here? This
hold on.
FA thing, how do I do it?" They say, "Hey, the first thing you should do is make sure you and the FA are on good terms because FA are the people who own football."
Bernard,
That's no problem.
let me make a revelation to
So
you.
what is
You see, and this point that you just made, football politics understands this, but our politicians don't understand this. So here's the trick: as soon as a sports minister is named, the first thing that football politics does is to cozy up to the minister and say, "Minister, the Black Stars, look." Now, our sports ministers like visibility. We have a lot of people who, outside of the fact that they had been named sports minister, would have been watching Black Stars players on television.
so? A lot of them now meeting
They
the
get
players.
starstruck. And I am sad to say it, but it is true. They are told that, look, the only way you will succeed as a sports minister is if you are seen to be the Black Stars. Now, the Black Stars make the most headlines.
So push the Black Stars.
They push the Black Stars. Secondly, Bernard, whether we like it or not, it is very lucrative.
That's where the money is.
All the money comes with the Black Stars. I will not close my eyes to the fact that it is lucrative,
So
and they make the point clear
It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
that if you also want to get something small, push the Black Stars. So most of the sports ministers we've had come, and within a month or two, Bernard, when this sports minister came, Skyward, did we not sit here and issue a warning and say, first thing you should not do is cozy up and go and chase the Black Stars? But then he realized that the only way he will gain any relevance, because, which is sad, that a lot of them end up thinking, which was why they fought with Neil Ante, because Neil Ante knew that he does not need the Black Stars to be a relevant sports minister to the general public. A lot of the people who take over that portfolio somehow end up being made to think that, oh, without the Black Stars, you are not relevant. Because they'll be at the stadium. Black Stars something, Black Stars this, Black Stars that. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done. A lot more
My final
assertiveness.
question,
Hold on.
Why aren't we rather taking on the FA in this conversation? Because it's their Congress, it's their record. The sports minister has
True.
25 sports to look at. He has a minute to come and congratulate FA.
Yes.
He says, look, football, munkonkwa.
Yes.
But we should be more hard on the FA, not the
Oh, I am hard on the FA as well. You see, but I have reached the point where after close to 20 years of monitoring and following the football system, I understand the fact that nobody can call the FA to order.
Serious.
Who?
Parliament
The football.
Parliament.
So the sports minister,
can use the
do
parliamentary
you know,
committee
if he's so
so
minded,
Parliament can help him to deal with the FA
if
he
he's
wants.
so minded, because
The
how would
committee
you
can-
do that without inviting FIFA
but
sanctions?
no,
and-
No, you
but
don't.
they
Fuck
pay the
FIFA
money.
sanctions.
The parliamentary committee has to approve budget, so they can
FIFA
say
sanctions.
we don't agree to this.